Greetings, family. How y'all doing? It is Saturday, and we are here for the True Love Movement Hour on WBOK 12:30 a.m. We really, really love WBOK. We are thankful for our opportunity here at WBOK, and we are getting ready to have a really great show. So I am just trying to get us straight right now so that we can make sure that we have our angles right and get this show in, because we have a good show, but then there's the front porch starring the beautiful Icon and Gian, who are going to be talking, I'm sure, about the going home and repast for our sister Peaches, my poetry sister as I call her. I really know that was a beautiful celebration of life, and I'm sure they'll talk about that. And then after that, Misbelief show with DC Paul and his crew. Shout out to Malik Bartholomew. We saw you on the 40, younger than 40 or 40 to 40 ones to watch. So our brother is definitely one to watch. He has those tours, and we love him. We also are getting started, getting ready to start. Now we're just waiting for Brother Shaq. Thank y'all for joining us. We're going to have a good show today. Inferior motives, huh? What y'all think about that? Inferior motives, kind of like ulterior motives. And we're going to get it in, because what we want is to change some things in our minds, in our own minds, because that makes all the difference. Imagine if everybody changed their mind about who they were and who they are, as it relates to themselves and as it relates to each other. Then I think we can get the results that we're looking for, right? Shout out to my sister Tracy Elizabeth. We love you, Queen, always. We love you.
Now, what I didn't set up is any headphones for audio.
Oh, I could do that.
The light. I know.
Okay. No, that's not.
I'm still dropping them Tuesday. I'm still dropping them Tuesday. Come on. I'm still dropping them Tuesday. I'm still dropping them Tuesday. I'm still dropping them Tuesday.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the True Love Movement Hour. Your host, Brother Shaq.
And Mama Fire.
And we would like to welcome everyone this breezy, nice and cool outside, a little windy, November 10th, 2018, here in the city of New Orleans, on WBOK 12:30 a.m. Real Talk for Real Times.
Yes, I wasn't quite ready for all this breeze.
Yes, indeed. And
that weather changed fast.
Real quick, that's how New Orleans weather do. So family, we want to start off the show by, saluting WBOK. This would be our actual 5-year anniversary on today, here in the studio with you every Saturday for the last 5 years.
5 years.
And so we'll be celebrating, of course, all month long, but it's really been an honor and a pleasure to be a part of the WBOK family, and for this last 5 years.
Yes.
Bringing you a show that our people can look forward to, can learn from, participate in, and most importantly, be proud of. This is a show that Black folks can be proud of, family.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are honored to be able to bring this to you, and also to not have to be radio personalities, but just to be real people and be able to be real with you, here on the airwaves.
Real talk for real time.
Real talk for real times, doing what we do. So what's happening, Mama Fire?
Oh, yeah, Brother Shaq. I spent the day in the bed today.
You sure did.
So that was my self-care. That's something that I never do.
Never.
And I needed to today. So thank you for taking care of me
Oh yeah.
today, and only so much love got me feeling out the I'm out the bed. I'm ready for this show. I'm ready to climb back in
Right on. Right
after
on.
this. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, when the weather shifts, it happens to me sometimes, but it's all good. I'm here and I'm ready to roll.
Right on, and we're glad you're here. And we're also glad our Facebook live family is joining us. Simply like the True Love Movement page on Facebook, and you can join us here in the studio. Of course, catch us on the www.wbok1230am.com on the web, the WBOK 1230am app that's available on Google Play as well as the App Store, and on the old-fashioned FM dial at AM dial at 1230. So many ways to connect, and we're honored that you've chosen to spend this next hour with us, as you have for maybe 250 or so times so far. So we give thanks for that, and
We are thankful.
we intend not to disappoint.
Yes. I want to shout out to my two feathers. I don't know if Facebook Live can see it, but
Yeah, I
shouting
see
out
it.
to our WBOK family, letting them know that I am sporting two feathers today.
Right on.
And I'm thankful for Outrage, who is on this. She's on Facebook Live right now.
Oh,
Who is
shout out, Mama Rachel. What's
Guidry. We had a wonderful meditation session together,
Okay.
and some beautiful things came of it. And so I've decided that I'm going to wear two feathers from that meditation. So thank you. And we talked about the magic and the power of sisterhood. So I want to thank all my sisters for supporting me, and I likewise supporting sisters. That's what true sisterhood is a give and receive flow.
Right on.
And so I'm thankful.
Right on. I like that look on you too, Mama.
Oh
Fire.
yes, I will be busting the feathers. Trust me.
I know you've been incredible with wearing the one feather for a long time.
Mhm.
Maybe one day we'll dig into the indigenous roots and those kinds of things. But I like it. It's a good look on you, Queen.
Thank you. They'll go anywhere. They'll go at the top. They'll go on the sides. Anywhere we need them, they'll be there.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, Queen. I love you. You look fantastic.
Thank you, King.
I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better too.
I am. So I think we need to try to jump up into this.
We're gonna jump in because it's a big one, huh?
It's a big one, but also at 6 o'clock there's the front porch. We got to be ready for that beautiful session.
That's
I'm sure
right.
they're going to be talking about our beautiful sister that transitioned.
Rise and Power,
Rise and
Peaches.
Power to Peaches,
That's right.
our wonderful poetry sister, and also Miss Belief after that. So we kind of got to get it in.
We're gonna jump in there, family. Shout out to everybody who joined us for True Love Movement Tuesdays as well. That last True Love Movement Tuesdays was out of sight.
I like True Love Movement Tuesdays,
I like
Brother
True Love
Shag.
Movement Tuesdays too, Mama Fire.
Yeah.
And I think our folks our audience, our listeners and our viewers, I think they like True Love Movement Tuesdays too. They shared the show and have been very, we've been doing a lot of correspondence about those True Love Movement Tuesday shows. And so, family, if you're not sure what we're talking about, at 2 o'clock, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're doing the True Love Movement Tuesdays, which is a little bit different than the True Love Movement Hour. And so you can catch us live, and you can also go back and look at the shows on the True Love Movement YouTube channel, where they're there as well. But join us at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for True Love Movement Tuesdays on Facebook Live, as well as on the True Love Movement Instagram page. You won't be disappointed, family.
Oh no. And our listening audience on WBOK 1230 AM, all you have to do is like the True Love Movement page on Facebook.
That's right.
And even just like our page on Instagram, and you'll be able to get our live show on Tuesdays.
Right on, and join into it. And today we'd like you to join into something that we think is it was timely. We're bringing you Black mental wellness and political education for the Black nation.
Yes.
As Mama Fi so eloquently coined. It's very succinct on what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And so today's show, without any further ado, we're going to jump into it because it's a big one. This is part one of a series of 3 of inferior motives.
Mm-hmm.
Inferior motives, which is a play on words. People talk about ulterior motives.
Yeah.
But this is inferior motives. We're looking at things that, are internalized inferiority as it relates to our people, but particularly how it shapes our behaviors and interactions and relationships with one another. And so inferior motives is part one. This is part one of that series, and we're going to look at jealousy, Mama Fire. So today's topic, family, is Inferior Motives Part 1 on this November 10th, 2018. We're going to look at jealousy.
Jealousy. Y'all know that song? Remember that song, Friends Will Let You Down, Friends won't. And then it say, jealousy and envy reign, never want to see you get ahead. Remember that?
I remember
Jody
that.
Watley.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers that but me.
I remember Jody because Jody Watley was in Shalimar.
She sure was, and then she verged off and did some like pop stuff, and it was good. But
right on.
I think jealousy really only comes after friendship, the real one, the kind that hurts. And we can talk about the levels of jealousy because I think it could be a generalized jealousy of dark-skinned women or of light-skinned women, or generalized jealousy of women with men or men that have in great relationships. But then there the kind that feels like darts or daggers or anything is the ones that come from relationships, the ones that had a connection first, you know. And so I want to say this, that I really want you, Brother Shaq, to kind of break down the internalized inferiority as best as you can from your experiences as a trainer with the People's Institute.
Right on. So our good sister, Barbara Crane Major, who is doing some important work today, as a matter of fact, many years ago, maybe 40 years or so, she developed something called, a concept called internalized racial oppression. And it has two forms: internalized racial inferiority and internalized racial superiority. And she did this mainly because they were trying to figure out how come, even when our people understood what was happening to us in ways of an analysis around race and racism and race relations, there was still something that was stopping us from being able to unite in order to organize to do the work. All kind of stuff would come up when our people were getting together, and we're still, we're all getting, our behinds kicked, by the same oppressor and under the same, tyranny, but yet there was these things that, as she explained it, that kept coming up. So she really looked at them and she realized that, for our people, it's an internalized racial inferiority where we feel inferior based upon the internalized racial oppression, which essentially, by definition, is a multi-generational dehumanization process whereby you act out the definition that your oppressor has given you. That essentially is what internalized racial oppression is. And as she pointed out, everyone is oppressed by racism, including white folks. And so white folks suffer from an internalized racial superiority, where they have a sense that they are in fact superior for only because this is the way the setup goes. It has nothing to do with the truth of the matter. And so in keeping in line with that, of course, we know race is a part of everything. We've looked in terms of our social interactions and also seen some other things that are readily accessible that do have a race component, because when we go back to it, I can locate where race is and racism is in it, but it really affects our ability, Mama Faya, to move forward cohesively if we're not aware of these manifestations and then we're not resolving them in ways that we can move forward. And so a lot of what is necessary to do is to kind of name these things, to be able to look at what's happening in ways that of course, the masses of our people are comfortable with, so that we can look at, okay, so we can solve these. We can definitely do something about this, but we have to look at it and then be able to identify it for what it is. So jealousy is just but one of those, and that's the one we're going to tackle today, Mama Fi. We're going to look at jealousy amongst black folks and look at several different aspects of it, and we're going to offer you all some solutions as well as invite our callers to call in with some solutions too, because I don't think there's anybody listening or anybody watching this live on Facebook who's not either been jealous of someone or had someone be jealous of them, in their lifetimes, because that's something that we all experience and we consider it as just part of, normative behavior in human development. But there is a psychology involved in jealousy, which I would say that it's an emotion almost, Mama Fi.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a natural human emotion. I do.
Right.
But I think for black people, it's different, just like everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Black people have specific responses to normal human, quote unquote, normal human beings. We haven't had a normal human experience
Not
on
in
the
America,
planet.
right.
Right. We haven't, as far as black, indigenous people who are, have come from the experience of slavery and Jim Crow and all the things that have come from there.
Right.
And I think we can say, for those who maybe don't understand inferiority, but it means less than.
Right.
It means lower. It means not quality. It means secondary. Like, and so where does it come from? It comes from the intersection of racism, white supremacy, and patriarchy.
Indeed.
That's where, and then we've gotten it from there, and it has a psychological and emotional impact on black people specifically.
Correct.
And so we're talking about the jealousy, the emotion may be like, oh, siblings, like a normal human jealous response might be a baby is born and the toddler says, oh, mama's always holding the baby.
Right.
And with some help, the child can resolve the feelings of quote unquote jealousy, and it'll be okay.
Right.
Meanwhile, that's a normal kind of situation. Our situation has taught us not only that we're less than in every single category that there is, that we are not, we are the base level, we are secondary, we are not quality people, right?
Right.
And then from access, like we are always accessible to our own people,
Right.
our families, and all those things. So these feelings in every single system and every single way in the world has impacted us psychologically and emotionally, and so has most definitely impacted our relationships.
Definitely.
And so, Brother Shay, I remember you saying that you've never been jealous.
That's correct. That is correct. I've not ever been jealous that I'm aware of. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't think of a time. Man, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
And I know that may sound unusual.
Well, you're also a only child,
correct.
right? And a Leo.
And a Leo. I'm an only child and a Leo. So what in the
Yeah.
world could I ever be jealous of?
Well, I can't believe that you've
Well-
never felt jealousy before, because it is a quote unquote normal human emotion.
Right.
Whether it stayed just a fleeting time or not. But I believe that you know yourself better than anybody else on the planet. But for us normal people, I'm just kidding. No, for us people who are really in tune with energies and like different emotions, I most definitely, when I was at my worst, I was the most jealous person.
Right.
Always jealous because I didn't realize I had what that person had. I didn't realize I had that too. I didn't realize I had the potential to have whatever it is I desire, or whatever it is that I create.
Right.
And you can get stuck there, especially if you've been through some hard times. If
Sure.
you've definitely been through hard times.
Well, I was thinking when you were saying earlier, when you were setting it up about the whole idea about being jealous, before you asked me the question, what I was thinking was that, in addition to what you were saying, these are, for our people, those are things that we internalize about us being less than. And it's not simply just a thought that we're less than. We internalize that
Yes.
about ourselves. And once we internalize something, just like when you internalize food, when you eat something, though you're putting it in your body, as it goes into your body, it starts processing and breaking down, and it goes through changes, and it don't look quite what it looked like before you put it into your mouth, but yet it's all there composition wise, and then it breaks down into your body. You use nutrients, and then you let go of the waste, but it becomes a part of you. Sometimes it adds pounds to you. You know what I'm saying? So internalizing something,
Yes.
internalizing an emotion is extraordinarily powerful.
Yes,
I
it is.
don't want to.
It's in every aspect of how you think about
It's
yourself.
how you see yourself.
Yeah, and relationships.
And the way you relate to other people. So
That's
that's
right.
the next place I was going, was how it's in comparison to something, as you mentioned, and that comparison essentially says that there's a standard that exists, and you are gauging or measuring yourself as it relates to whatever that standard is, and the fact that we did not set whatever that standard is.
That's right.
And that standard, the height of that achievement of that standard does not look like we look. It
Yes.
brings upon the insecurity part of it because we're set apart from something and we're constantly measuring it ourselves and we're constantly measuring it in relationship to. And so we've internalized that we're less than, and we see this standard, or we're able to conceptualize this standard
And
that
we
is
have also
not ours.
internalized the standard.
If we've internalized the standard,
Yeah.
correct. So that also exacerbates it. So I'm saying all that to say that that's what makes jealousy, as you were saying. I'm just
Thank
kind of
you.
adding on to it, saying this is why it's such a thing for our people, because that standard is whiteness. That's what the standard is, and so our measurement is in proximity to whiteness, what white people have, what white people do, etc. And our relationship to systems and institutions is not that of what those who have come to be called white is. So we will never have whatever they have. So that reinforces the feeling of inferiority, the feeling of I am less than. And so if I'm already feeling like I am less than, that means as I'm reminded about that, or if that's re-stimulated through interaction or engagement with other people who may appear to have something I don't have, because I'm assessing them and assessing me in this comparison thing, then that brings upon that emotion of jealousy. You know what I'm saying? Because how come you get to have it and I don't? We all supposed to be alike, but you got something that I don't have. And so then it becomes about the
You
possession.
got something I want.
You got something I want only because I want to have that thing, whatever I think that thing is, because we know that there's a reward that goes along with that thing from other people, and so it gets
Quote
very,
unquote
very
happiness.
deep. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Especially when we think, why aren't we jealous of white people? Like, why aren't we, angry at them and backstabbing them and they
Right.
doing these things? And so that talks about how we've, that speaks on how we've internalized white supremacy, like really believing that they are superior and they cannot be touched,
Right.
and they cannot be talked
And
to.
that they're supposed to have that stuff.
They're supposed to have it. They cannot be challenged. They cannot be uncomfortable. Brother Shag, we don't. And I know that this has been reinforced through police and laws and all these things, that if you were to tell a white person something, you may be placed, you may be prosecuted even harder,
Right.
And that's what they've done during times of Jim Crow and during times of, they've made sure that you are not going against them,
Right.
because you will always get repercussions for that. And so what do? We do that. We do it for our people, because
Right.
there are no repercussions for that.
That's right.
And so that's the reason why it's so pervasive. Is that the right word?
Pervasive. Is the word. That's it.
In our own communities, this jealousy for one another. And yeah, we can walk into a place, we can walk to a place and we see, especially as sisters, we know that this happens. You walk into a place, you dressed, you took your time and you did some self-care, you got in that mirror and you look fabulous and you look bright and shiny, and you walk into a place and you get all kind of rolled eyes and you get all kind of, well, she thinks she all of that. Now that don't hurt, right? That doesn't hurt, because we understand some sisters are going to be like that and whatever. But it really hurts when you've connected to someone and jealousy creeps in, for whatever reason. And then, axes start falling and serious problems start happening. But it really hurts when you think somebody knows you and you think you've made this connection. I mean, it could happen at any time, like brothers stepping on somebody's shoes, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Something crazy of that nature. That is, internalized anger from what we've been through, internalized rage. But I think, but somebody tell me, is it worse when it comes from somebody you don't know, or is it worse when you come from someone you know?
Right. And the sister here, we have a shout out to Sonia Maria, Natasha Wilson, of course, Rachel and Rodnika, and everybody else who's joining us in the Facebook Live. Sister Taylor says, I'm currently dealing with the inferiority versus superiority complex in pharmacy school. In fact, because I did say something to a white person, I was made to feel like I was an animal and inferior.
Okay.
You see that? So
Yeah.
that's one of those kind of, as black folks assert themselves, and that's, there even could be some jealousy in there, Mama Fire, because it really sounds like it boils down to attention. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, like you mentioned, walking into the room, and people rolling eyes. I mean, that whole idea about who is able to receive and get attention really has a lot to do with the whole jealousy picture. You know what I'm saying? That when someone is not able or not listened to or not heard and someone else can, that also brings about, jealousy,
Well, I want to thank you, Taylor. I want to thank you for doing that, because we have to learn how to put things in the right place. Like we can feel inferior in a space with a lot of white people, and then go and be, try to extort power, or try to, be powerful in a place with just black people. Try to take power,
Right.
because that's how we felt in white spaces. I feel like we should say what we need to say in white spaces, or decide not to be in white spaces, because we can make that choice not to be in white spaces. Inferiority internalized inferiority is very serious, and each one of us need to look at and see how we respond. I have to be around white people. I choose, not to, especially if I can. I'm decided to be this way in my life. So now when I am in space with white people, I really see how how I respond to that. I get very angry. I don't shut down. I just shut up. Like, I don't say anything, because I've had situations where, white folks have taken my ideas. I feel like they have, and that might sound crazy to
No.
people, but I've been in places. I've worked at charter schools, for example, and you work at a charter school, and you're in these group meetings, and everything is beautiful, and you've given up ideas, and you've given up before you know it, it's taken it and ran with it. As if I learned to not say anything, because I don't want that taken from me. Or, even if I've said anything, it's been made to be simplified, or like it's not a good idea, or something of that nature. Both of those things have happened. And I'm just sharing this information so that all of us can know. And yeah, we might say, wait a minute, you took my idea, and you took it and you ran with it. And they'll say, your idea?
Right.
Are you kidding? Really? Oh no, I had that idea 3 months before you mentioned it, and then it'd be made to feel like that. So guess what? I decided that I don't want to be in white spaces. That's hard if you've decided to be in dental school or some kind of school environment, pharmacy school, and some school environment where you have to go to school with them. But please make a decision how you're going to move once you have your degree and once you have everything you need. How are you going to move for our people? Because I think it's important, internalized situations, when we've internalized inferiority, especially with white people, that we make the decision if we're going to be around white people or not.
That's right. And jealousy in that aspect was in fact the motive in the case she's talking about, and also what you described, Mama Fi, when you had an idea that got more attention, that was better, obviously, and then someone made a move because they were jealous of the attention that you got. I think it's important that we look at, when we're talking about these inferior motives, how attention and attention-seeking behaviors are woven into the whole jealousy piece, because we're constantly measuring and assessing how we fit into the world and how we're received and how we appear. So when you talked about appearance, and the sister also was mentioning appearance, shout out to again, we got Charlita had joined us too.
Hey, Queen. Hi.
It's important, and Tracy Elizabeth, it's important too that we look at the way that some people are able to get attention. Like they may, some folks have talent, and then some folks are likable, and some folks have both. You know what I'm saying, Mama Fi? And there have been many kinds of cases where someone has talent, but yet they're not able to get the attention that they like. Much of that has to do with, personalities and other kinds of things like that. Then you got folks with no talent, but very likable, and people seem to be drawn to them. I've seen many times where that happened, and it creates a major rift, because we're not clear about our contributions. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And so, and then I'd also like to open it up to the solution line and just let
Yes.
some folks who want to chime in at 504-260-9265. Again, 504-260-9265 is the solution line right here on WBOK 1230 AM. Real talk, real times on the True Love Movement Hour today. We're looking at inferior motives as our part of our 5-year anniversary time. Today we're looking at jealousy, which is part 1.
And the sister Taylor is, the brother, I'm not really sure, is talking about white spaces. And she said that she, she felt empowered for remaining professional, but as she voiced her opinion on how she was wrong, she was called unprofessional and accused of attacking the person for standing up for herself. This is all on Facebook Live, the Facebook Live thread.
Right.
And that's white spaces. And we all know what that feels like.
Right.
We all can say, yeah, I felt that before. And yeah, we cannot say, when we say things and we challenge things, you're always going to be given the unprofessional slap on the wrist or something to make sure that you don't do that again.
I think
right?
we did a show on that.
We did. But I want to talk about in black spaces because those are the spaces we can control.
Right.
Those are the spaces we can control when we control ourselves, right?
Correct.
We are part of that collective. And so we can control it in us. And I think, of course, identifying internalized inferiority is extremely important. Identifying it in you. And then really, what does it look like in black spaces? And then what can we do in black spaces? I think I talked about it earlier as I did a post on Facebook and said, not only do I remember being jealous, but also once I realized I had greatness in me, I had abundance in me. I had abundance of talent, abundance of beauty, abundance of anything that I needed, and the understanding that I could create it. Right? When I got that, then I started seeing jealousy a little bit different for our people, but I was still becoming hurt when it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I realized that, wait a minute, our people have been through exactly what I went through.
Right.
Our people are seriously laying in internalized inferiority and do not realize it.
Sure.
They don't know. And so because of access, but also because of, the hurt and the pain, we continue to do this for each other. We continue to do this against each other and hurt each other in this way. And so when we know it, we can, lift off the hurt and pain and say that our people are really struggling and maybe teach about internalized inferiority, show them this video, say there's something I really want you to watch, or, even recommend Frances Cress Welsing, recommend Joy DeGruy, recommend understanding ourselves psychologically and emotionally.
That's right. That's going to help us rise and be cohesive as a nation. The sister Rachel asked, let's get to the root, though. She's like, well, what about, she's asking about the root. Well, what about why we're seeking the attention? And it's for what you just said, Mama Fire. We have internalized this inferiority, so we need validation. We want something and someone outside of us to say that we're okay. And oftentimes, not to go back to the white spaces, but that's important. Oftentimes, we feel a lot better about ourselves when white folks do validate us. We are seeking validation from them to the point where as I've seen our people who are accepted by, white society or the dominant culture, people who are able to get accepted by the dominant culture, sometimes folk who are not able to be accepted by the dominant culture, who are interested and desire to do that, they are jealous. They are jealous that, white folks like you or for whatever the case is. And, that's a big piece of it, too. We don't usually name it like that, but that's really what it boils down to. And that's because, like I mentioned earlier when we were opening up, the dominant culture has set the standard. So we're really trying to come close to that standard, and we want to be rewarded for our hard work, in trying to achieve that standard, which, of course we want, but the proximity is what's desirable. And so when someone is able to gain approval and someone else isn't, that also produces some jealousy. So it seems like there's a common theme that we can trace back to the plantation, that we want to be pleasing in his sight, that we want to be pleasing in his sight, and to the point that since we have internalized it, white people don't have to be around us for us to do this. We do this, as you pointed out very eloquently, we do this with our own people. But I'd like to move now, Mama Fire, to closer relationships. You know, when you talked about being jealous, there's also these, you know, people are jealous of siblings, they're jealous of friends, and there's also some intimate partner jealousy that happens too, Mama Fire.
Definitely. I see it so often, Brother Shaq. You know, like I wanted to thank you for bridging this, but I wanted to go back and say, you know, inferiority is not good enough. And when we talk about the standard that we've also internalized, it's not white enough, right? In white spaces. And so not good enough, not white enough is feeling inferior to white people. Now in black spaces, it looks different though, Brother Shaq.
Right.
I think it's not strictly light-skinned people, you know, dark-skinned people feel inferior to light-skinned people, and that can be brought on from not feeling white enough, right? But in this case, it's like you know, you have something that I want, and I feel inferior. I feel like I can't get that. I feel like I can't have it, and I can't get it. And in intimate partner relationships, though, it's about like, are you gonna leave me if you shine brightly, or if you you know, if you grow to a tremendous amount? Am I going to be less than now? You know, so I want to come, you know, I want to pull you down so that you can stay on my level, you know, and it's done so subtly. And what do people say when you call them on it? What do people say? Well, like, is this jealousy? Like, are you jealous? Oh, please. Why would I ever be jealous of you? What kind of person do you think? You know, every single time when you called it out like that, that's what it said. And I don't know, my sisters, help me with this. It's not just me, because I know it happens. I have conversations, intimate conversations all the time with my sisters. And I've been in a situation, definitely the last relationship I was in with my children's father was being put down all the time for like having big dreams. You know, big dreams. I'm saying these big dreams, and like, why are you thinking like that? Like, you can't do that. You know, I even was told that, you know, I should just kind of calm down, that it's not really gonna happen, that, you know, you going too far now, you know. And it's like everything that I thought I would do, I'm doing right now. So it's not impossible. But I'm just saying, like, how subtly it can happen between people who love each other. And listen, I'm glad that I got out of that relationship. That relationship grew me up in many ways. But I can't be around people that tell me I can't do anything. And is that internalized inferiority, Brother Shay?
Not at all.
No, I'm just saying, when people say you can't do something.
Oh, absolutely, because they've internalized already that they can't, and they've connected with you. So obviously you're like them, so that means you can't either. And so that if in fact that you can and then they can't, that reminds them about what they're unable to do. So rather than say I'm not reaching for my highest self, to reaching inside of myself, they say, well, let me slow you down so I can feel better about myself and my condition. And that's definitely rooted in jealousy, because the jealousy is the emotion that comes on as you begin to blossom and they're not blossoming. So there's something else in there that we didn't talk about. Two key things that are part of the dominant culture and part of the way we're socialized. In order for there to be jealousy, there's presumptive competition. And that competition is manufactured, but it's also rooted in the perception of lack. You see what I'm saying? So when the idea is that things are scarce, everything is scarce, so that means if you get on and I ain't gonna be able to get on, so I would rather that neither one of us got on.
Come on,
you see what I'm saying? So that's part of and again, we've internalized those things about ourselves and what we're capable of, not because individually we're bad or low or weak people, but we really have been brutalized, man, for 400 years. I mean, when we talk about dehumanization and rehumanization, the work we do is rehumanization work. But when we talk about dehumanization, I guess we may be saying it so passively. But I mean, when someone is dehumanized, that means their humanity has been taken from them. Like, they no longer have, their human quality, their human trait, their human dignity. And when you're not operating in your human dignity, you're doing all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? You're saying all kinds of things. You're thinking all kinds of
And
things.
you're hurting all kinds
And you're
of
hurting all
people.
kind of people because you yourself are hurt. But of course, we're all hurt. We're oppressed, and we have been this way for 400 years. I'm not saying that so that we continue to be this way, just to bring the compassion into the conversation,
Yes.
to bring the compassion into as we are assessing where we think we are in relationship to other people and what they're doing and how they're being received and the attention that they get. To remember and recognize that we are waking up, we are getting up, we are in the process of healing. We're on a very long journey. We've only been off the plantation for 153 years. We were on it for 90 years longer than that. So we are still in the very early stages and crawling, trying to reclaim our humanity.
Yes.
So the idea that we're jealous is still rooted in very raw pain
Yes,
and raw
it is.
emotions that we really haven't taken the time to look at and analyze because we're so busy trying to survive this oppression. We're at a very low root chakra level. Mama Fani.
Vibrating low.
And jealousy, in my estimation, is rooted in that.
Yes. Shanti says, Father put me down all the time. Mother was not nurturing. Parenting styles plays a huge factor. You better believe it, Queen.
Oh, yeah.
But where do we get it from? Where does it pass on from generation to generation? And then not even being able to see it. You know, and saying, well, shoot, my mom and daddy was like this, you
Right.
know, and not being able to actually see it. I think outrage, she's saying, not being accepted as we are by our parents plays a huge role of forming inferiority in a child.
Definitely.
If the child is always told that more is required without acknowledging and appreciating the fundamental human inside them, they lose their sense of self very early. That's
Definitely.
right.
But
That
how
is-
many parents, Mama Fire, are jealous of their children?
Oh,
I mean, let's
boy.
get real
Oh,
about that.
my
How many
goodness, I
mamas are
see it.
jealous of their daughters?
Oh,
let's
I see
talk on
that.
that.
I see that way too much, and it's so sad to see because when the daughters realize it, they are so hurt.
Right.
And, you know, when they say, "Well, why is my mama treating me like this? My mama treated me like this my whole life, and now that I'm trying to really come up out of who I've been and remember who I really am, then my mama is, you know, I'm realizing that my mama has been jealous of me the whole time. It's
Right.
very sad to see. It's very sad to see how it hurts. But there is a healing from it too.
Absolutely.
In the understanding of how we got there. Like when we talk about we are not ahistorical, we talk about history and context, it makes us understand where we are better.
Right.
It makes us feel like there can be a solution to it. But when we're just kind of floating around in our stuff, like stewing in it, we can't keep our head above water, let alone see what's going on.
Right.
You know, so that's why the history and the context is important, Brother Shaq. And that's why the history and context in this internalized inferiority is important. Not so that we can walk around with our head up and say, well, you know, I could never be inferior anymore, and but really looking at it to say our people are really suffering from this.
Definitely.
And making a decision for us to not suffer.
That's right.
The one person that we can control, to take it off of our plate and say, this is not for me anymore. Just take it off.
That's right.
And dismiss it, and then help others see it.
You know, the sister Ronika, she talked about, I've had jealousy in my relationships, and I think many people have. You gave a great example, Mama Fire, about, you know, someone being jealous in a relationship. What we should definitely add to that is the reason why jealousy is even there is because, again, there's this thought of competition. You see what I'm saying? There's a presumption that we are in competition, and so that means we are adversaries. I mean, you got to think about how our people are walking around and have internalized that I am in competition with everyone and everybody. I'm going to
Yes.
show them. I'm going to look better than they look. I'm going to buy a bigger house. I'm going to buy a different kind. I mean, it's the presumption that our people are so interested in one-upping one another is a signal. See, that is a signal that we are operating at a low level, that our true humanity, our true human contribution in depth we're not cognizant of it. That's part of where we get to the cure of it, because when you're clear about what your contribution is and what you really are and who you really are and what you're working with, then that's why I'm saying I'm not jealous. I haven't been jealous of folk because I know what I can do. And it isn't about me doing something better or being better than anybody else, but I'm good with where I am, and I understand that I'm significant, in that if I want to be more significant, then I got to develop myself to be more significant. But if someone else is able to do something that I'm not able to do, well, maybe that's not even for me to do. But it's also not for me to try to compare myself to them because I don't know anything about their journey. To be able to look at other folk and say, man, that is really wonderful. That's part of the reason, as you always said, we're not able to collectively recognize the good and the qualities in our brothers and sisters because we're so busy assessing where we are in relationship to that.
Everybody
and
else.
if we
That's
don't
right.
feel that I'm as good as you, well, I'm definitely not going to big up you and say, oh, that's really fantastic
right,
that you
Brother
did
Shay.
that. So what resolves that, what cures that is for you to do the work on yourself
Yes,
to
sir.
know who you are, what you bring to the table, what your contribution is, and hopefully to the benefit of our people is what you're really assessing.
Come on.
But if you're doing that work, which is work, okay, that is work. If you are actually doing that work, then there ain't no time to be jealous, nor is there a need to be jealous because you are very clear that you have the full capacity to live out your purpose on the planet.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying, Mama
yeah,
Fire?
Yeah. And Mama J says, oh, it just went off of there. Ooh.
She said, what did she say?
She said something like jealousy and love don't live in the same spaces. And I have to say that for parents, I think parents do the best that they can. You know, I really do. I have to believe that parents don't bring children into the world to hurt them, and like specifically to bring a child into the world to demean them and hurt them. I think hurt people like we say all the time. And yes, we can do better. And I think all of us can do better. That's just the point. There are some parents who are really, really, really struggling. But I've seen situations where it's been a very subtle thing where the mama, doesn't want the daughter to shine because, for whatever reason, doesn't want her to get up there and do whatever. And I think the mother needs to look at herself. She needs some self understanding so that she can do better.
Right.
And the point of the matter is we can all do better. Even you, Brother Shay, you may have never felt jealous. You be jealous, but understanding when people are jealous of you. And I know you do. I'm just
Right.
giving an example. I think all of us can do better with understanding internalized inferiority in our own selves. Because we can get caught up in saying, people do this and that person did this to me and that person, instead of saying what is going on with you in specific. Sit with it. How internalized inferiority shows up in you, how jealousy shows up in you, how responding to people who have been jealous of you shows up in you. And that's what True Love Movement Hour does, and that's what True Love Movement Tuesday does, is to say we are the one things that can change.
That's right.
And then when we come together and we make a change, and then real change happens.
That's right. And I don't want to be out of balance either, Mama Fa. I'm glad you just brought up that last point because this has been a fast hour. We got the front porch coming up next, followed by DC Paul and the gang, and we're not all the way out of here yet. And I would think it would be wrong and out of balance for us to get out of here for me not to say that jealousy is not something that only black women are experiencing.
No.
I want to be clear. They got many brothers who are jealous. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's not something that brothers like to talk about. But it happens.
Oh man, I see it so much.
You know what I'm saying? They got brothers who are jealous of other brothers. They got brothers who are jealous of their wives and their girlfriends and their partners.
Yes, there are.
That jealousy resides in all of us.
And sometimes jealousy can look like domestic violence. It can look like power and control and those things as well.
There we go. Because there are oftentimes where a brother may not want a sister to shine, like you mentioned in that example, or a brother is not getting the kind of response he'd like to get from other folk, and maybe his partner is, or maybe the sister is, or maybe she's got certain talents and or maybe she's making more money. I mean, like we got to really look at these kinds of things that are often unexamined and not seen, but the ramifications are felt. And see, that's what we're really concerned about. It's not so much we're trying to say, hey, you jealous, everybody's jealous, I'm jealous, you've been jealous.
Look in the mirror.
We're saying this behavior is not going to help us rise, and it's something that we can do something about.
Yes, it is.
See, we have to make changes, but we can make changes
in
to
black
start.
spaces. Yes, we can.
And so for black spaces, for our intimate partner relationships, and the way we deal with our people, like, one of the things, Mama Fire, you say at work, particularly as we work, oftentimes we said you treat each other like you're precious.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like if we were treating all black folk like
Come
they
on,
are
Brother Shay.
precious.
Precious.
You know what I'm saying? Because we this oppression, you know, collectively, we are the result of all this oppression collectively. We've had all these different traumas and tragedies happen in our own individual lives within our people are walking around with a lot of pain. There is nobody you're going to encounter that's black in America that hasn't been hurt, that isn't feeling pain, and the person who hurt them is likely a black person and a person who may be related to them. I mean, there's stories after stories after stories. So if we walking around with that, you know what I'm saying? Then we got to be cognizant that we're all walking around with that, and that there isn't anything to be jealous of. Do the work. Let's do the work on ourselves to raise our own vibration.
And look, we're
understand our
saying,
purpose.
my sister Outrage says, tell us how to fix this. But we're saying how to fix it.
Yes.
And there's cognitive dissonance in saying that is so simple and no, that won't work. Yes, it will work.
Absolutely.
Identify how it lives in you.
Right.
Identify how it lives in your household, in the people in your family. Call it out. Teach them the history of internalized inferiority, just as we have taught you, and how it looks, and how we can get people to understand the history and the context of it. Right? That is how we fix this.
That's right.
Please know we are always giving it a solution, and the solution always starts with you.
That's right. And then there's never an imposition. This isn't something that happens from the outside. Like nobody comes up to you and makes you do this and you got to do that. And that's not what it is. If we've done our part correctly, which we think that we have worked to inspire you to change your behavior. We're not trying to motivate you to change your behavior. We're not acting on you from the outside. This is the idea of once you do the personal work and the personal investigation and interrogation about who you are, why you're here, and where you're at, you will be inspired to adjust your behavior accordingly. That's the way the rise happens. It don't happen because somebody come along and bust you upside the head and say, stop being jealous. That ain't what this is. That's part of the,
There's no
the
magic
slave
wand
conditioning.
in this thing.
And it's not something somebody else is going to do. What we're going to do very quickly is we're going to take this call we got holding. Thank you for holding. What's happening?
Thank you, brother. Peace be unto you, sister, brother.
What you say, man? We got
Peace be unto you.
But I was listening to everything you were saying. I was trying to let y'all get in everything.
Right on.
Now, listen to this. Your brother do have a jealousy. Coming from history and events. Prior to the 400 years that we know in this country, let's go beyond go back before this 400 years. You see, God grades, like we get grades in school, he grades nations and governments as in the leadership.
That's right.
If this government is in the leadership, he grades them how to treat people, how to respect people, and how to share with other people. Okay?
Right.
African people, hundreds of years before this 400 years, was involved. They were the leaders and the custodians of a civilization in Europe.
Right on.
They had leeway. What they did and was responsible for was this. They brought Jews and white Christians all together. Without measure, bruh. They gave freely to all what they learned and had.
That's
and
right.
They shared with them people to get out of degrading condition they was in. Now, they were the scholars of the time, the scientists of the time, the psychologists. They examined those people's behavior.
That's right.
And help them people rise up and go beyond and become people and progressive human beings. Now, are people that I was jealous of when they did learn all what they learned, when they got to this place. Like I told y'all before, they bit their hand that fed them.
Right.
They turned their back. They became jealous, envy, and evil. They used all kinds of tactics to hold our people down. Not just African Americans, but other people of color.
Right on.
So when they came into that age of technology and science and higher education, they became jealous of those people because they know the origin of that African and how he got his. It came from the Creator, man.
That's
I'm
right.
telling you.
That's right, brother.
Thank you,
We thank you
brother.
too, man. We thank you for getting it in right at the end, man.
When they learn, I'm
Brother,
sorry,
we have to,
Saying something?
brother Keith, we gotta run.
Yeah, I'm sorry, brother.
No, right on, but we appreciate you dropping that on us. We need that's a great way to cap it off, man.
Because I know how they got it, and
Right.
I know where they got it from. Thank you, brother.
Right on,
Thank
thank
you,
you, man. We
too.
appreciate that, bro.
Questions to ask yourself. Have you been jealous?
Uh-huh.
Has anyone been jealous of you? Then process it all the way to internalized inferiority.
All the
Process
way.
it. Think about every little step that happened. You can do that through your journal. You can process with someone and get help if you need to.
That's right. And look, share this show with people you respect. Continue. The thread is still open. Share it on social media platforms. Join us on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for True Love Movement Tuesdays. Like True Love Movement on Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, stay tuned on all our pages.
All of them.
To see all the things, things that we support in the
on.
community.
We're going to drop flyers and
Yep,
everything else.
yep.
So stay tuned, too. We got up next, we got the front porch coming up with our sister Icon and Gion. And I'm Brother Shaq
And Mama
for the True Love
Fire.
Movement Hour.
Wholeness.
Right on.
Greetings, family. Now since we've been doing 2-hour shows, 1-hour shows aren't enough, are they? 1-hour shows are very hard to get through and really, really hit it. So,
Now that we found love, Mama Fire. Thank everybody
now that
for
we
listening.
found love, we got to work on all kind of other stuff that has psychological and emotional impact.
That's
Love y'all.
right. No jealousy.